I'm gonna have to go to YouTube. My Facebook tripping.
Hey, y'all, come on in. It's the pre-show. Get in a little early if you like. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from, where you're listening from, uh, what you want to talk about. If there's anything in particular that you would like to discuss, we want all of that. So the pre-show kicks off right now. Come on in here. Mm. Oh, sorry. Shouldn't told. Good evening, Facebook user. Bye bye. Why'd you have to go? Go and leave me. I'll take these out. What about you? I'm seeing Facebook user. Hey, welcome to the pre-show. We're getting ready for the show. Feel free to go get what you need to get ready, whatever you need to do. Get your notebooks out, get your notes out. Get your popcorn, get your water. What we gonna do? Oh, somebody trying up in here.
I'm trying to.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, it's 7 o'clock already? I hope y'all ready, man.
Hope y'all ready, man.
Trendsetters, ain't nobody did it like we did it before.
Good evening, somebody else. Hey.
Hey, let me reintroduce the mogul, the lady that lives in the truth. The reason Raven finally go through the roof is later, but when we back, baby, you know, it ain't never gonna stop. This is the show we've been rocking since the school of hip hop. Keep it locked, cause every show is full of vital information. No dragging down the bus, she keep on fighting conversation, no doubt. She guaranteed to show up, to show out, showing different angles of life that's what the show about. You know we finna go up, touching on the topics you need to know about. And plus we need to hear from the city, so pull your phones out. The line's open, not to mention the whole goal is to keep your mind open and some design in your blind moments. Oh, it's that moment we all been waiting on. Rejuvenated, rebooted, hope we ain't take too long. Award winning, I think it's time that we make it known. Ain't nobody rocking like we rocking on the radio, so I highly suggest that you don't touch that dial. A local legend, but we about to take the show worldwide. Real rap, all you gotta do is relax and kick back. This lady Boo gon' break you off, Kit Kat. You know that's big facts me. They call me savage and I've been at it a minute too. I'm guaranteed to show naked ass like I was winning. Boo, here we go. No the show. Sick.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Happy Sunday to you. I am Lady Wu. It is the show. I have been waiting all week to get here, to this moment, to this day. I have been waiting. I have been looking forward to today. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Abby Award-winning show right here on B94.9 WATV. As stated, I am your host, Lady Wu. Got my people in the building with me. Introduce yourselves, please.
What's going on? It's your boy Ready Eddie.
What's going on, B Ham? It's your boy Jay Hat.
Good evening, Birmingham. This is Kathy B.
Hey. Yeah, big show tonight. A lot to talk about. We had a very interesting week last week. Oh boy. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get all of you in. Be sure to let us know where you're watching. If you don't hear your comment read, tell us where you are. Tell me where to come. Tell our panel where to come to see your comment. You may be watching from a few different sources. So we want to know where you are. I'm looking at the StreamYard comments. You may be in some other places. So if you're on Facebook, let us know. Wherever you may be, let us know. So what that week do? Jay Hat, how was your week? What happened?
Oh, beautiful week. Long week.
Mm-hmm.
A little exhausted. Lot going on in personal spaces, but had some very good, should I say, vital conversations. A few interviews. Did one with my girl Kisa,
Yeah, I saw.
and
We'll talk about all that too, because you are a part of an Abby Award-winning team. You can't be all over this city. I saw that though. Good conversation.
It was great. And had several conversations in spaces. Just really trying to make a map for forward. So that's been my process.
A map for forward.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna follow the lines. We're gonna see what the road to forward looks like. Hey, Ready Eddie, how was your week?
It was pretty chill. It was
Okay.
pretty chill. Outside of, but found out that I do a program with the kids at the detention center where we're working on a podcast.
Mhm.
This group I collaborate with put a podcast room in the detention center, and I go help navigate them stories.
Okay.
A grant got approved for that, so we can expand that.
Awesome.
Which goes into like the sentiment for me is like when I went into the studio to vote, I didn't vote for myself exclusively. I voted for the people that I work with, the people in the community, and my clients, and the things that they were going through, and the things that they would be impacted by.
Mm-hmm.
And so just that grant is just like hit in the right time, in the right moment. But it was a good experience to see that program will be able to be expanded.
That's what's up. We need more of those. So congratulations on that grant being funded to you guys, and hope to see some great work from that. Kathy B, how have you been this week? What that week do?
I've been good. Of course, been busy educating the people and wrapping my mind around the current changes that has transpired within our country.
Yeah.
And so been in some meditation, been kind of silent, like, what do we really understand
do
what we
this?
have done?
Yeah.
You know? So just been really meditating and planning on what we need to do to not repeat this.
Okay. I'm glad that you made it here today.
I
so that we
did.
can have a conversation about it. As for
Exactly.
me, it was a big week. I submitted my first doctoral paper. And I'm gonna tell you, as soon as you submit one, you submit another one, and then another one, and another one.
Yes,
Golly.
those
But
revisions.
But human services and leadership in human services, basically what we do all day, every day. Anyway, I'm really enjoying the content of the classes and the work that I'm doing, and looking forward to being able to implement that into spaces where we can see immediate change, and then where we can see long-term change. Because if I run for president and don't win, you thought January 6th was some last time.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
All right.
All right. Black boots and berets and black shades.
Okay.
So that was my week. Really doing papers, wrapping my mind around the work in a real way, like the life around me and what it looks like and how it looks as far as what's needed, and what's next. So I wrote a piece to kick off the show. Wash, dry, fold, and hang clothes. Remember details that only a mother or a woman knows, but you can't trust a woman with the nuclear codes. Plan each meal and cook every day. Buy the food and the plates. Pay the rent and the mortgage. Pack and unpack the storage. Ignore the facts that the BS that the men do is not just an act. Be the nurse, be the peace, go to all the practice and the games and pay the fees. Stay healthy, stay fine, stay available, be on time. Take care of the pets, prepare for what's next. But when the world rapes us, turn over and forget. Go to school, make the grade, get married, be a slave, have his children, be his maid, stand in the shower and cry at this beautiful mess that you made. Sure, Eve did some dumbish, and as a woman, we still take the brunt of it. To be seen and not heard and submissive is absurd when you've got men who don't even follow the word, won't read, won't expand, and only by his penis is defined as a man. This world is wild and by all means could be ran by a child. History, her story, we're living it, so it's not a made-up story. The church folks said no matter what, God gets the glory. I believe that to be true, but what about the nonsense that the people do? A woman can't lead, or is it just that a man can't follow? Is it black or white, or is it filled, or is it hollow? For some right now, it's just rage and sorrow, because this hit below her belt, went as low can go. A woman's breast, vagina, and estrogen. Let a felon go crazy in the White House again. The states united, all right. When I saw 20-something to 3, I went on back to sleep that night. Hey, whatever it is, it's going to be all right. It's time we fight. That's what Trump said when he got shot at, right? I feel like shots were fired. Women have been objectified, minimized, politicized, brutalized, seemingly only valued for what's between our thighs and not for that fire called a brain between our eyes. The most educationally decorated, culturally dedicated, with the resilience that lets us continue to tolerate it. If a woman can't lead the United States, it's time we throw these plates, cancel these dates, challenge our mates, because to all the folks who said no or wait, the chief of staff for the next administration is rumored to be of the woman affiliation. So if a woman of color, educated, poised, stable, and relatable ain't able, if she is not the lesser of the two evils, let the change begin. Women will win. That's how I felt. That's how I felt all week. And I was sitting there and I said I was going to write it. So I wrote it this evening. I said, you know what? This is my position. This is where I stand. And this is how the show shall open. So with all of that being said, I got time today.
Yes.
Jonathan was talking when I walked in. And I said, hey, y'all. Hey, guys. Good evening. And he kept talking. I said, excuse me. Hey. I ain't playing with y'all. That's how I'm treating everybody from now, because I don't know who voted wrong. So I'm treating everybody the same. Hey, I said, hey, here, all the spaces I enter, just like that.
Right.
She got a man too.
What the hell is going on?
Right.
Where did we begin? Tuesday, we went to the polls. All y'all voted right, because if not, you off the show. That's the last line of the poem. All of you voted right.
Yes.
Because if you didn't, you got to go.
Yes.
Okay, so we all voted.
We all did. We exercised.
We exercised the right. Oh, I'm wondering, first of all, starting there, I helped a young lady we voted on Tuesday, on Monday, and she didn't know if she was registered the day before the election. So she was like, yeah, I remember I registered when you brought the lady here. So I was like, okay, cool, let's look it up. So we looked up, she's like, but I never got anything to say that I did. I said, okay, so we looked it up, and she was registered. Cool. So we got that part handled. Told her where you're registered to vote, where you're supposed to go. Guess what she said next?
That's too far.
She don't have a right.
I don't have an ID.
Oh God.
Sounds familiar.
I was like, what? It's tomorrow. And why are we just having this conversation today? It was today. Why we're just having this conversation today? So can you go get, at that point, I was just like, well, I could be like, let's go get a temporary ID or something, but so I know a lot of that happened. What did you all run into, or did you hear? What stories did you hear Tuesday and leading up to Tuesday?
Had a few rides to the polls.
Because they were paid for, right?
Lyft and Uber did do that.
Okay.
I know family member of mine shared that picking someone up, took them to a poll place, was not their poll place. Took them to the next place.
That wasn't it either.
Nah.
Mm.
So, not being prepared,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
definitely
Lack of preparedness.
lack of
Mhm.
preparedness.
Okay.
What Young DC? I know he had made a video or a statement
Mhm.
about they wouldn't allow him to vote because he had a PO box
Really?
addressed on his ID, on his license, and they
Well, you don't
basically
live at a PO box.
refused him. But he said they allowed him to vote with that same address
In the
last
primaries?
election.
Okay.
And so he said he went back up there just for them to tell him he couldn't vote because he could not believe it. So, I know that happened. I heard on one of my Facebook friends had posted that one of the machines had broke.
Mm-hmm.
They ran out of ballots.
Mm-hmm.
They
They had to
didn't have
reprint
enough
some
ballots.
ballots because some of right in Shelby County, I think, didn't have a backside. So the amendment was missing, which made that a flawed ballot. Okay.
The machine was broke. It was going to take the guy an hour and a half to get there and an hour and a half to fix the machine. So that's 2.5 hours.
Okay.
Those were some discrepancies that I heard about. Did you hear that?
Eddie, what you heard? What you heard? My goodness.
Not many major ones outside of them blowing up them ballot boxes
Mhm. I
and
heard
trying
about
to
that.
deter a bunch of them absentee ballots. A couple of people on TikTok were told that their shirts were political, and so they wouldn't be able to vote because their shirts were political. One of them had just had Tupac on there.
That was
Yeah.
See.
So finding ways, but that situation with the voter ID is like that was the intention of the actual law. It's like this will be a barrier for some people, regardless. And as many people as it can be, we need those people to be a barrier.
So some man-made barriers and then some self-inflicted barriers as well. We've been knowing November 5th was coming since whenever, forever.
But some people don't be thinking about voting until you talking to them about voting.
This is true. I had somebody tell me on my Facebook page this morning that they didn't understand it, and I actually will read that comment to you shortly. I'll come back and read it. This is an adult with adult children that said this, and I said, "Oh, but you come to my Facebook page to make the comment about not wanting to be educated about it." Okay. So, do you give up on people like that, or do you continue to have conversations with them? What happens? Like now that we've seen the power of the vote or the lack thereof, what do we do with those people?
Continue to continue.
Okay,
You have
you
to.
gonna
You have to.
going.
You can't.
educate.
Yeah.
Well, both of you all are teachers, right? You're educators.
Exposed.
What about those? And I'm an educator. This is true. However,
Well,
and
I think it's deeper than educating and exposing because they have to understand the connection and see. We have to present the pros and cons and the impact and the effect of why, we should vote. And maybe we need to do it in a way that they can understand it in layman's terms more so. Like you said, a lot of people do not know. A lot of people, may not have government and economics.
I thought everybody had to take
It is required. However, some
didn't
people
pay attention.
Right.
I didn't comprehend
or
it.
went through GED or other alternatives. They may
Okay.
not have had that.
Okay.
And so that may be missing. Or they may not have had a teacher that could break it down for them to understand. Because let's keep it honest. We talked about the different branches, but we didn't go into the electoral college per se.
And I always, you're right. I always want to go back and talk about that after an election because if it's the road to 270, and that's what you see first, that is, for a lot of people, well, my vote doesn't count then if it's only 270 that's needed. What the hell I'm going for? I don't know who these 270 people are.
Right.
And so I guess tonight, just for sake of of clarity, let's start there if you all feel confident enough to have that conversation. Who and why and what role does that play in the election? Why is it just a road to 270 by getting the electors in those states to basically get the president for everybody? What is that about?
270 represents a percentage of the total congressional representation number, which is 535.
Okay.
You have 100 senators. You have 435 House seats.
Mm-hmm.
That number is fixed. It's based on your state's population, which equates to the number of seats each states get.
Okay.
When you add the Senate and your district seats from the congressional districts, you get the total number of electoral votes.
Gotcha.
Alabama has 9. We subtract 2. That means we have 7 congressional districts.
Mm-hmm.
We now have 1 more that we'll have. So Alabama next cycle will have 10.
Okay.
Right. And so the popular vote, they didn't want to do popular vote because they initially didn't feel the uneducated were smart enough to make educated decisions on who should be the leader of the country. This is documented. This is part of the Constitutional Convention conversation when they were debating counting the slaves and all that, right? So fast
it
forward,
goes all the way back.
everything goes all the way back to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach the meeting in several parts because there are 5 compromises that kind of shapes that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
The Electoral College system was one of those compromises.
Okay.
You have the Great Compromise, which is pretty much how Congress was set up.
Mm-hmm.
And then how would we choose the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so initially what a lot of people don't know is senators were not directly elected either. They amended that to the popular vote with the 17th Amendment.
Okay.
And I might be off because I'm really is up in the teens. Just to make it, because people be fact checking.
Yeah.
But initially they didn't want the president to be directly elected. So the system was created to give balance
Mm-hmm. As it should be.
to the congressional proportion in the South. The South made those arguments.
Mm-hmm.
And so what people don't understand, every vote does matter because 90%, 95% of the states, I think 2, Nebraska and Maine, are the only 2 that kind of separate them by by the county districts. So whoever wins the popular vote in that state, that person then turns around and wins the total electoral votes for the state. So when you have races decided like by 5,500, 1,200, or 200, I think Al Gore was down to like 500 and something in Florida, right? Every vote mattered, right? Because you have to win the popular vote to get the electoral vote.
Mm-hmm. And the popular vote is all the people.
Correct.
That's the people. I like the way you broke it down. Now, how can one become a part of the Electoral College? What school I got to go to? What college is it that I need to go to be an electorate?
They're chosen by the state parties in the state legislature.
Mm-hmm. So there's an application, you guys. And I don't know what needs to happen, but hey, we got 4 years. Okay. I'll say that much. And then based on what the president-elect has said, you'll never have to do this again. Now, we don't know what he means. I don't know if he means never have to vote for him again or never have to vote again. I don't know what he wants to do, but that's what he said.
Well, can we?
Shall we?
Can I push it? I'll tell you like
Shall we?
Can I push it? So that also is by amendment. Amendments was added after FDR.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, the framers did not put term limits on the president. So you could serve as long as you were elected.
Yeah.
Most chose to do 2 terms because that's what George Washington did. So by custom, tradition, they did so. FDR wins 4 terms, and you immediately get the 22nd Amendment, which changes and limits the president to 2 terms or up to 10 years.
Okay.
They have the House. They have the Senate. And looking at that map, that is going to be becoming a real conversational piece in the next couple of months, in years, at least 2. I think they got 3/4 of the states because you need 3/4 of the states to ratify an amendment. So again, they pushed an
Ooh,
agenda.
Okay.
They can make that change, and he can have.
As many terms as he likes. He's 78.
That means he'll be 82, right?
That's too old. So now we need to put an age up there. I move that we amend. I move that we rewrite Amendment 22. Can I get a second?
Hey.
I second.
And maybe get a vote.
Hey,
Y'all ready to vote?
The ayes have it. Okay. Oh, do we have a question? Is there a question on the floor?
I don't have no rebuttals. No
Okay.
unreadiness.
All right.
Move forward.
So what's the age? We didn't say the age.
If you let me tell it, I think 78 is like the cap.
I say 70.
Me too.
You say
I was
70?
just about to say 70.
I
My
know.
dad is 72, and sometimes I'd be like, Daddy, what?
Right.
70.
70.
He's swift, but United States president. First, like you are promised, if you're biblical, you're promised 70. That's what
Right.
I don't know how you
Fourth
calculate it.
quarter. Yeah,
Well, however
fourth
that
quarter.
adds up, 70.
Right.
Okay, so if I get that,
Mhm.
why would I want to spend my last days trying to be president? I
right,
said
run the
this when we were talking
country.
about Biden.
You did?
Why are you doing that, sir? You should be fishing and drinking coffee and making TikToks with your grandchildren, great
And I
grandchildren.
feel like we should have someone of youth. I mean, we went from Barack Obama. He was in his
Probably 40s.
40s.
Yeah, late 30s,
Right.
40s.
when he ran. Like,
Right in your prime.
so that's why I don't understand the disconnect. We went from Barack Obama to Trump to Biden. Like,
They wanted to make it great again. So we took the
The Democrats have a problem with messaging. They have a problem with reaching populations that need to be reached.
yes,
Mhm.
yes,
Because
definitely a disconnect.
when any group that wants to be courted in a political scene, they come talking nice to him. But when it was time to have a conversation with black men, Barack Obama came out hard. Like, why are you talking like that? You know, type situation.
we be coming up.
And I mean, I ain't against criticism of my manness in any capacity, you know, but we're looking at it from a political perspective. They don't do that. So why are you talking to this group that's losing numbers like this in this situation? But then on the other side, Kamala came up with a plan for black men, which is just the first time I've seen that.
Mhm.
And it very well may be lip service, and they very well may not do something. But that's still a stark contrast from the other side. They're saying, we're actually going to do you harm.
That's right.
We just put it in some nice words.
Did they put it in nice words?
Nice enough for people not to look at or perceive it as harm. But it goes back to what Hat was saying. It's like the way you just explained all of that lost a bunch of people in 30 seconds.
The
You know.
electoral college. Mhm.
Yeah, that conversation. So how do we get to people who ain't hearing it? We got to be like, listen,
Well, we
Donald
need to
Trump-
wrap it.
Donald Trump is Debo.
Mhm.
It is a rapper.
Mhm.
Donald Trump is Debo.
Schoolhouse Rock.
The American people is red. He finna snatch your chain.
Oh, okay.
You know
and that's
what
your
I'm
grandma
saying?
chain.
Yeah, and that's your grandma chain. And you
Right.
can run up on him, but he gonna uppercut you, so you don't need that kind of energy. Like it got to be wrapped up some kind of way
Yeah.
You're right.
that makes it palatable to understand, because somebody even getting in the weeds of a person who is intentionally trying to find stuff, I'd be like, how did it get this way? Okay, that can't be it. Okay, you got to go deep into
So
the
you
weeds
research it.
to understand how it is like this. Like, because I'm like, why does the electoral college exist anyway? And it's like you get down to be it like back in the long ago, they had to get to Washington by horses. You know what I'm saying?
420 years ago.
Yeah, like-
What?
They had to send somebody that represent their state by horse to the Washington to vote. It's like we don't have that world no more.
With a smoke signal. We got a cell phone.
What we supposed to be doing?
Right.
We need to be doing something different.
So who says that? So then it's like you had like the educated people that you have. Kathy, you mentioned like all of these people who are equipped in the world, these professionals, these educated people, these innovators, these leaders that show some interest. What do they have to do? What organization do they have to be a part of? How much money do they have to be the people that really make a difference in the United States of America? And I think that's a bigger part of the conversation as well. How we have our own pockets of people who won't make it because we so stupid that if they don't fit the group or the criteria for what we like, then they don't have the money that we have. They don't live in the neighborhoods that we live in. They don't drive what we drive. They're not a part of the organizations that we're part of. We won't support. Why we like that? Then this happens, and then everybody mad. 994-8949 is the number. 994-8949 is the number. Yeah, we have some subcategories that we're going to talk to. That was just getting you ready for what's in store for the next hour and a half. It's so much. There were so many emotions around Tuesday and leading up to Tuesday. And I had been telling y'all in studio, it's the momentum for me. It's just not giving. It's not giving. Definitely wasn't the Barack Obama energy. I don't know. It wasn't even a Hillary Clinton energy. Honestly, I didn't go to a pep rally. I was invited to one that I co-hosted with some high school students to get them engaged and ignited. But I remember Hillary's team, I want to say bringing her or bringing representatives to Miles College. I mean, you know, just the energy. Oh, the energy is so necessary.
And I guess you would have gotten that had it been a longer show. With 107 days, you almost, sad to say, you know you're going to lose.
Man, I threw some dope sets in like 30 minutes. You know what? Let's have a party. Send a list out, run to the store, get the food, boom, we there.
You would have lost Alabama. You know this. You would have lost Texas. You know this. And so you go there for she did go to Texas, but you're going to concentrate in the areas where it's close, battleground. You're going to concentrate in the areas where you can at least make the case to swing a few. That ain't in Alabama.
So we should all move.
No, it's just, like I said, if she had a full election cycle, campaigning cycle, yes, I think you would have.
Okay. So we don't blame it on time.
107 days is just not enough time. I mean, hands down, like, the lady did a magnificent job with what she was given. She's fighting two fronts, both uphill.
I meant to play claps, not crickets.
You good. But no, she's fighting two fronts, right?
Okay.
And then, so you got one side is you thrown into the fire. The other side is you thrown into a real big fire, right?
That's like the biggest.
Yeah. So like, usually your president is not that unpopular if you didn't comment. And those numbers are striking because you had to come and say today, she made it close. Like she did. She almost exceeded. And she did. She exceeded expectations, I think. So,
except for winning, that was the greatest expectation. We gotta win.
I think there are several things that's dragging her and weighing her down.
Okay.
One of them is being guilty by association for who they calling Genocide Joe. For the moment, that's one. Another one is being a black woman. That's the misogynoir, and one of them just being a woman because we don't want to be led by a woman.
Right.
And it's a whole bunch of groups in America that decided that they would rather choose a problematic man to run the show rather than a woman
that's skilled, educated, poised. Like I said, like the decorum, the demeanor.
She has a lot of credit. She has a lot of experience in different roles that would benefit the government. But I was talking to her earlier. I think Democrats for a long time have been too center, too far right. And I think that in order for it to be an actual left versus right, the Democrats got to move further left to me, especially when it comes to stuff like foreign policies that would lead the kind of advocacy that they have for what Netanyahu is doing.
To the left. This Facebook user right here, because I can't see who is who tonight, but it says the number of people in the Democratic Party who have degrees have doubled. They feel like we are weird elites out of touch now.
Yeah, that's what the numbers show.
And who is the they?
Right.
Who is the they that feel that way?
The majority.
And how do we get
and who are they?
Okay. So look at it from this vantage point.
I've always wondered who they are.
The they is the anonymous they is undefeated.
The they.
Undefeated. Uneducated and working class people decided this election. They are the majority. 37% of the population has degrees, which means 60+ % is the majority. These are the people you're contending with. Now, am I saying that you got a degree, you're stupid, dumb, and you can't fight? No. But what I am saying is they are the majority. The Democratic Party lost them. They lost the working people without degrees. They started talking down to them. You started making the issue about other things.
Okay.
People didn't vote because of his personality. They voted because of their pocket hurted.
I mean, yeah, my
Period.
pocket be hurting too, but
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
I got a few degrees, and ain't nothing weird about me still living where I live, being around the people that I would say we're still normal people. All of us fit that bracket. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. This they, how do they feel that way?
So I got a question. Because that's the same amount of degrees would have applied to the last election, right?
And
I
see
mean,
what happened the
was
last
another
election.
white man.
No. I'm saying when Joe Biden won, it would
Yeah.
have had to apply. So we have to calculate for what variable if the same group has been voted for Joe Biden, but now not voting for Kamala. What does talking down look like between that election and this election?
And that's what I'm
that
trying
made
to
such a
see.
substantial
Oh.
difference and shift.
They,
Great point.
the
But if you
number
go
is,
back
hold
and-
on, I want
No,
they
go
to
ahead.
call. I want they.
They in?
I want-
They in?
I want they. I don't know because I don't know them, so I want them they to call 994-8949. It's the number. If you feel anything that Jay had said about who the they, if you are that they, I want to hear that. I just don't understand how that makes any sense. And then to the point that Eddie is making, your sentiments would have been the same last election unless you just like old white man to lead you.
Yeah. And they helped push him over. That's my point. If you look at the numbers since Obama's first term, our vote, the African American vote, has diminished, has decreased. The Republican side has increased. If you look at the two elections which women ran, you see some similarities in what chose the election slide. Men definitely, as you say, the misogynistic piece is real, but it wasn't just them. It was a whole lot of them, including some of us.
And the
I mean,
Hispanic population.
It's still going to
We got to
misogynoir.
talk about that.
I mean, it's still misogynoir. It's like to see how many men are lost when it comes to a woman running don't have nothing to do with the disagreement of their policies. If their policies are very similar to the predecessors and the people that won between both of them. Joe Biden won between both of them with very similar policies. So what accounts for that? The only variable we got is men not wanting to vote for women.
That's right. The
So
gender.
it becomes
It's-
that issue. It is that issue. So the road to 270, who the hell had the map? And who was driving?
Okay.
What road is it? Who are the people? I want to talk to the people. Then I think a they is on the line. Is this
They
a they?
may be on the line. Let's see.
Okay, we're gonna go to the phone lines because this may be they. And I want to know what they got to say. They? Is this you? Hello? Hello? Caller? Uh-oh. They hung up. Call back. 994-8949 is the number. So the road to 270. And sometimes we get lost. Sometimes MapQuest and Google Maps don't work. Sometimes the lines ain't clear. And that's what we're trying to see.
Bad service.
You know,
Yeah.
what I want to say to what you were saying earlier, Hat, is that I think what I perceive as being talked down to is being talked honestly to about nuance. Because where Trump gets to
Okay.
say they take your jobs, a nuanced conversation that has to be about how the essence of immigration has really impacted America in a lot of different ways. Not
Yeah.
just so having to have that whole conversation where Trump get to say, we'll just take you, we're gonna make your groceries cheaper. And a conversation from Kamala have to be, well, inflation is a complex thing. There's price gouging. If you're honest and actually telling people what's going on, you have to have a conversation that people don't understand.
I think what you just said, what I just heard is that Trump speaks
Simplified.
he speaks on his simplified level, his level of competence, and that scarily says to me that there are a lot of people who function on that level of
Yeah.
competence. So messaging has to be that simple.
Bingo.
Okay. So instead of us having educated conversations, we have to have very simple conversations.
Yes.
We got to figure out how to break the map down to 5 words.
Like time. The popular magazines out there are only like a second or third grade level of reading.
2 seconds.
It's bad. It is.
But think about this, and that this is why I started to push back on the Latino woman thing.
Mm-hmm.
The president of Mexico is a female.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't everybody in the culture. It ain't everybody rocking. Because how do you get that?
The queen of England.
Well, the issue for
Woman
Latinos
king.
that are in America and allowed to vote, they end up being single issue voters because they want to protect their spot in America from Latinos. Like what they say? Don't nobody hate Latinos more than the Latino that made it.
That sounds kind of familiar.
Because it's one of those situations where no, we did it right. We followed the rules. Yes, it took us 15 years and we don't like that system. But you think that legislation and flipping some switches gonna get you in 5 to 6 years? That's like they end up being single issue voters because of that.
Single issue voters. If I could vote on one issue, what would it be and who would I vote for? Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you're in with Vital.
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
All is well. How are you?
Yes. May I ask you a question? Because I'm not standing in there with you. I was going to ask Lady Wu. Do you have the headsets on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I didn't know if you had your headsets on or not. Because I was listening to you from my phone, but I wanted to make sure I had your question right. What was your question again?
Oh, which one? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so it's been a while. Yeah, you asked it a few minutes ago, and then you said you were going to take calls. But anyway,
Yeah, whatever.
I wanted to just add my 2 cents. I feel that, yeah, one thing I wanted to say, and I will say that I've been a Democrat all of my life.
Okay.
And I've never seen a campaign. I know the campaign was sort of short-lived because she only had 4 months, to be honest with you. But this time around, I decided to stay out of the middle, I guess you would call it, to just sort of look from a distance.
Okay.
But what I can say, what I saw, I feel that when you are, whether you're female or not, I don't think it had anything to do with her race. I don't think it had anything to do with her gender. I don't think it had anything to do with whether the Republican Party had Trump or whether they had someone else.
Okay.
The deal is when you're talking about religion, you can never ever challenge the Bible. You cannot. It doesn't matter who you are. That's a very risky move. And bottom line being, if the states are in position to make certain decisions on certain categories, and it was the 2 main topics that they were talking about, you can never that's why they say separation between church and state. You don't want to risk coming out saying anything against biblical terminology, because this is a Christian, religious, United States is very Christian and religious, bottom line.
So if I'm hearing you
And so
correctly,
my thing is
it that the
I'm
candidate-
saying
is
that
it that the person who said anything against those 2 issues?
anytime you challenge, you come out of your verbal mouth and you put a van in the parking lot of a event that you don't know which way people, it's best out to stay out of that party. I think that was a very risky move. I feel that her campaign committee or her campaign staff, I feel from looking at a distance, they targeted the wrong target audiences. It looked like they were targeting 18 plus. They should have been targeting 25, 54. I feel that they did not utilize what they had to their advantage. They had Obama, they had Michelle, they had Biden, they had the Clintons, they had the Bushes, they had everybody in their corner because nobody from either side wanted that other party to win. Yeah. And they failed her. She does not know anything about politics in general. I felt like she didn't, because using your gender and your race to sort of, when you come out and say my name is so and so and I am a native of so and so, it's just very risky. And I feel that they failed her. Not only that, the biggest fail was the event. Anytime you bring a secular crowd and mix them with a Christian crowd, you're going to have a problem. If you look at the majority of the people that were in the audience that did fly out to go to that event, look what was on stage. That was totally the wrong place for those type of artists to be there. Everybody felt Kamala. That's the way I feel.
Gotcha.
I mean, her party. And so the voting was, everybody went on their own. They voted on their own. They didn't go along with nobody because everything was, they failed her.
Thank you so much for that. I was trying to get some, some details on these events and the who and the what, when, where. So you said you think which event you think?
I think she was speaking on Megan. I think she was speaking on when Kamala had Megan Thee Stallion and some other urban music entertainers that's popular.
Mm-hmm. The Christians were there too. Was it? What was it?
Well, I think she was saying that it was an older audience.
Okay.
An older crowd, which didn't appease to those entertainers. So it was a little disconnect.
Yeah, and
a lot of people thought it was distasteful to bring those entertainers to their opening event in that manner.
You just said something else. Distasteful. So here we are worried about what's distasteful. And you got people that allow their presidential candidate to be just as lewd and wild and unfiltered and whatever he wants to be. He can cuss on the stage. He can call people out of their name. He can do whatever. And they voted for him. They got them turned.
Yeah.
Now, as for us, those who, and that may be
Double
a part
standard.
it's a different standard.
Yes.
You say it's a double standard. It's a totally different. It's a different mindset where we want to present as reasonable people, reasonable, appropriate people.
Listen.
Well, do we need to just start acting crazy as hell?
Anytime the devil was acting up in the Bible, he was talking nice to people. Like anytime he was talking nice. He was like, hey, listen. I don't know why God want to have all the knowledge.
Was, because baby, the way he was talking to Eve.
Look at them fruit. They look real good.
Like, he just told you.
He's a snake. He's a snake.
Right.
And he's charming her.
Yeah.
And he's like, look.
And her man was standing right there doing what? What was Adam doing? What was he even doing?
Eating the fruit.
Right.
You heard her say. You heard God say, "Don't eat off this one."
Contemplating on eating the fruit.
What are you doing? then the snake, Eddie, you just started the whole situation.
Okay.
You just made something pop in my head. I'm trying.
What is going on, man?
It might be.
I'm just saying, if you would opt for if you would remove the importance of somebody's character to the degree that it seems that you would rather choose the devil that talk nice over the person that don't seem to have those. Like, we talking about somebody who done rape people. Well, sexually assaulted. We'll say sexually assaulted. We'll be talking about somebody who been divorcing wives here left and right. So what are family values? We've been talking about people that having sex with porn stars. We talking about people who have used the Bible as a prop, literally.
Upside down.
Like, how are we? I guess just him talking nice is enough to consider him Christian and to consider that being the party of biblical values, to turn somebody else away who has a more genuine is hard, because I do believe that all presidents are war criminals, but the one that has at least the lip service of we're going to do humanity the greatest service versus one that we're going to do American humanity the greatest disservice.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and like, who would Jesus vote for, y'all think?
Right.
Who y'all think Jesus will vote for? Y'all think he'll vote for Trump or he'll vote for Kamala?
Well, I definitely.
What would Jesus do in this situation?
See, this is where you get a slippery slope with
the lady
theology.
said, "Don't mix the two."
The theology slides into a different conversation because abortion would be an issue.
Right.
So.
And that's the point she was making.
Yeah. So that will be an issue, right? But here's the flip, because it ain't just about the babies in the first few trimesters. Right. So abortion got limited to or relegated to one particular thing, when really it's not just that one thing. It's also the other side of that, from the IVFs and everything else of the people trying to get pregnant. So that got the messaging got messed up, right? So, like the economy really is not bad. That message was not articulated well. Inflation last few years, 2016 and 17, 2.1, 18, 1.9, 19, 2.3, 2020, 1.4, 21 and 22, you had 7% and 8% respectively. 23 is coming down to 3.4 to currently 2.4, which means
I was gonna say, because that's why I get lost. What you talking about?
if you look at the averages, it's only 2 bad years. And that's in the middle of COVID, right? But comparative, Trump and Biden had roughly about the same as it comes to that. Because what people fail to understand, Biden does not take office until 21, right? So you have to look at what in the world is going on. It wasn't inflation. It was the prices. Everybody's hurting because of the prices. So our wages are up, facts, but the prices are up too. Don't seem like you got a raise. When your insurance went up just as soon as you got the raise, right? This is the issues that everybody's feeling. Minimum wage is $7 still. It's been $7 since 97. Those are real issues that you could speak to, but you spoke to it too late. And when you don't get your message out, nobody's believing you. Here's the other thing. People stuck with what was certain. They did not know you. They didn't know you.
That's another thing.
Yeah, they didn't know you, but we know what he said he gonna do this. He gonna do this.
But he don't do what he say he gonna do for the sake of the people that need it done for
Oh,
them.
okay. All right.
But he delivers on his words. At
To
least he
some- to
tries.
somebody.
What word? I mean, he don't
Everything
deliver.
he has done, everything he promised on his campaigns, he tried to do. He literally tried. He tried to build a wall. Democrats blocked it. He tried those things.
But
So what you're saying is the effort.
No, it was just when you talk about campaigning, you make promises. People are looking for you to do that. And so now he has a mandate to do exactly what he said he was going to do.
I hold less value for somebody who make promises about stuff that ain't worth nothing.
Okay.
Just
That's
because
fair.
they
Just out
make
here
promises
talking.
and they trying to do
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, like, moving America in a nationalistic direction when America has been a part of the reason that a lot of these nations have been destabilized and a lot of them have been going to other countries and looking for somewhere to live, is like saying we're going to build a wall to keep these people out. When in some instances, America has been a part of that. Like, that ain't worth more than figuring out what to do with dreamers who literally have become productive citizens in society, and they still can't make a decision of whether they can actually be here. They've proven that they got something to contribute. Of people who are actually seeking asylum, we don't even care to discern where the actual harm is, and like is using a hammer to attack something that needs a scalpel or a chisel. And
So,
I'm not against figuring out how to keep the people that ain't got no business over here from being over here, but like they want to cast a wide net. Like, they don't want to fish with the fishing pole. They want to just put some bait in a net and then pull them all up at one time. And that really don't cater to the complexity of human experience and the complexity of how America came to be what it came to be with all of these different cultures in it. You know?
Okay. So with all of these people here, we have minimized, or the government has minimized down to black, white, Mexican, basically. Okay. And Kathy, you were saying something a little low before we got to it, talking about the Latino vote.
Yes.
And Jonathan was speaking about some of his students who had homework and different assignments and the perspective about that. And I think a lot of people were simply thinking, oh, well, everybody said something about it. Eddie, you even mentioned about the one issue vote. Yeah. Like, it's just one thing. And so collectively, what do we say, or what does that say about the Latino Mexican vote in America now? Because what would you generally think? Like, if we break this down and we go back all the way down to Trump level, what do we think about the Latino population, the Mexican population in the United States on Trump level?
How much do they pay? They pay, I'm gonna look up the number.
Mhm.
Speak.
Well,
You got something?
no. Number one, they flex their muscle and show that they're a true voter bloc. They've swayed the last 4 elections, presidential elections. So they're here and they're collective. They have collective bargaining power
Mhm.
and they use it. 2, a lot of them voted against home interests, right? You got 2, 3 people you sent for that ain't legal yet.
Okay.
And you voted for someone who finna send some of them home. But at the end of the day, without the money and the economic means to send for them, you're doomed, right? So it became an issue with money. Economics
Okay.
was their single issue. Immigration was second. Yes, and some of them did agree, but then it came back to a cultural issue for a lot of them. There are a lot of them are socially conservative, and abortion is an issue for them. Women leadership is an issue for them. And in America, unfortunately, their boss men telling them that they better do something is an issue for them. Because if they don't vote, they ain't gonna eat. Hey, you back to survival mode. So yeah, I vote against all that. If it's gonna take my job away, and I can't provide for my family and send for my folk.
And we still talking about the block of Latinos that can vote,
Right.
because the illegal immigrants provided $96.7 billion in taxes, paying the stuff we utilize that they can't. And people wonder, how is that the case? It's because at the point when an illegal immigrant wants to be legal, they have to show a years long contribution to the American tax system as if they were a citizen.
Yep.
So they paying into the system, so not only is the xenophobia the thing that's going to lead what Trump is going to do with the illegal immigrants, but it's going to impact the economy in terms of how much the illegal immigrants put into it. And then when we thinking about illegal immigrants, we are zoomed in on the conversation about Latinos, but we already done seen them talking about Haitians. Like, that's not the only immigrants here. There's a lot of immigrants in a lot of different cultures that from all over the place. And people like Stephen Miller has no desire to discern. If you ain't white, really, I assume in their mind, if you ain't white, then we don't care that you here or not. You can't tell me in his mind, he'd be like, well, no, black people can. No, that ain't how that is. That's not how that is. So we zoom in on the conversation with the population that we know. But ultimately, like I said earlier, from my perspective, is like that single issue vote for Latinos that can vote. Yes, they don't want somebody coming in here taking their place. They don't want somebody coming in here creating a scenario where, okay, the Latinos in my community is dangerous now, and now I'm finna be getting pulled over just because police pulled me over because I look like I'm Latino.
Welcome to being black. Yeah.
So,
hey, do y'all remember that issue? It was in Alabama when they were running scared. They were talking about sending a lot of them back, and it became a shortage on the agricultural industry.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember that?
I do.
They hurried up and hushed that.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely.
That's the truth.
Cause who? But see, that's the thing.
Who finna go do that work?
Who's going to do that work? And so I think that's going to be a problem too when it comes to the deportation piece. That it's a part of, they say, Trump's plan. And my question is, did the Hispanic population have someone from Harris' team to communicate the effect of them voting that way? Maybe the Trump team had someone in the grounds to miscommunicate them intentionally, because it's easy to do now. Because a lot of the Hispanic population come from an educator's perspective. The parents can't speak English.
Facts.
And a lot of their kids manipulate them.
Facts.
So it's easy for another American to manipulate them.
Facts, especially if I'm holding your check.
Exactly.
This is a big problem, because it's like, yes, the Democrats have had Kamala's campaign, although ran pretty good, as good as you can run in 107 days. What they chose to target, I think, was the problem. What they chose to communicate was the problem. Yes. They didn't communicate a lot of stuff in the way that they needed to communicate. Correct. But I think the reality about the Latino population in that way is that they're going to have to figure out how to navigate being looked at as the others, because what they talking about is, as far as Stephen Miller and the Project 2025 go, it ain't about naturalized citizens, because what they did was Trump said, hey, not y'all. Y'all did right. Y'all did what you're supposed to do. Oh, not you. You got a visa. You working. But they're working on a concept called denaturalization. They're working on taking people who have been naturalized citizens and taking that away. But who gonna tell them that? And they gotta believe it when you tell them, because Trump's saying, no, we're not gonna do that to you. You've been here for 30 years. They ain't, but that's what they saying.
That's why I say it's bamboozled.
100%.
It is.
So the roles are changing now, whereas we were the minority who all of these issues applied to. Now we just kind of like, where are we? I mean,
We
look,
third on the scope.
we're the
Okay.
blacks. The blacks are still, the blacks are still a part of some of these conversations, but we are not as vital to any of it as we were. And whose fault is that? Whose concern is that? Who takes the responsibility for what that looks like moving forward? It's a lot. It's a lot to look at. And I see that a lot of you are listening, but you're not responding. And that's okay. About 511 of you are here. And we appreciate you being here. But I want to have the conversation with some people. So I asked a question on social media. I asked for blacks who support Trump to call me or to inbox me. Guess who replied? Nobody. I want to have a conversation. Like, I just wanted to know. So before we get out of here for our second hour, I'm going to take a call. Caller, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts, feelings, questions, or comments?
Well, the first thing I would like to comment about is, are you listening?
We are.
Okay. Well, I wanted to make a point about the immigration. I have a question for the panel, actually.
Okay.
In regards to immigration, being an illegal immigrant, from where I'm standing, the only people in America that are not illegal immigrants are people of African descent, because people that are looking for asylum coming to America, those would be considered illegal immigrants, and those were not the people of African descent. We were kidnapped, slaved, and brought over here to work. We weren't looking for asylum. Everybody else was. So everybody in this country is an immigrant. If you're not an immigrant by being born in this country, you are a descendant of an immigrant. So my question is, how is it that you can tell who can come in to a country when your grandfather or whatever did the same thing?
And we're back. Welcome to the show, B94.9 WATV, the Abby Award-winning show. Vital is right here on your radio. We have been for the last hour recapping the week from our perspective. I know people have been talking about it and having all types of conversations about it, but hey, we're doing it our way tonight and giving you an opportunity to be a part of the conversation the way that you want to be as well. So 994-8949 is the number. I am on here, but for some reason, my laptop is deceased. So we're going to work on that so that you can see me. As I should definitely be visible on the on the thing. So let me see. In studio tonight, Ready Eddie, Kathy B, Jay Hat. We are here having our conversation. Thank you all who are watching and listening on the web as well. Nothing happened. We went to a commercial break to come to the top of the hour. Just watch the screen, you guys. We were just taking a radio break. Had to adjust some things and come back to the top of the hour. So thank you for joining us, and be sure to like and share the show. Got some comments that we have to get to as well. And we ended with a caller. And the caller was talking about immigration and what it really is. And I don't even think Trump cares about that at all. But this comment right here may be what he was saying. Maybe you all are missing one point. When the illegal immigrants are gone, they're going to use prisoners like they do in Alabama already. So that's not what he was saying, but that's a great point. What are your thoughts on what the caller said? It's not about African Americans and other people coming to America and all of us being immigrants because none of us are the natives of this land.
I think he was leaning into the idea that how can some group of people have the audacity to say that they can make a decision about who's supposed to be here when nobody has the rights to this place other than probably Native Americans. He might not have been going that far in the conversation, but like it sounded like he was saying everybody is an immigrant. If you came from somebody else, your ancestors are immigrants, including the people that's making decisions, that people that held the original power. So it just goes back into a conversation about like how morally right choosing which people should be able to be here and which people should not be able to be here.
Okay.
Right.
That was my perception of where he was going.
And I also heard that if we are of African descent, we are not immigrants because we were kidnapped and transported here to work.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we wouldn't be deemed an immigrant. Now, the other nationalities who voluntarily transported to America, they would be deemed immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard that. I don't know if you all heard that.
He said we weren't seeking asylum.
Yeah, so because everybody a lot of people came here for refuge.
Yeah,
right.
Whatever that refuge looks like. So I agree with you. I think that's the slant that he was taking. I think that's the angle.
Yeah.
Because that angle has been repeated and said so many times. The issue becomes once the country gets established, it has a right to say who's in and who's not. And that's every country, right? You can't just go to a country and stay. There's a process.
Right.
I think Kendrick posted a comment earlier. And so I think that is more aligned with the thought process. Like a lot of people, real or not, feel that they're taking their jobs away. Right? Okay. But like I just said, when the agricultural industry took a hit in Alabama, I didn't see brother Fufu and JJ going down there to pick no cotton because cotton still exists. I didn't see them going down there to raise up no crop, right? And so the industry took a hit and the prices are going to go up. So immigration is like you said, it's a single issue, but it's a complex issue. And I think a lot of the people that don't understand with the immigration from the southern border, you get the fentanyl, which is even more, to me, even more deadlier impact than the economic piece, because now we have a whole epidemic to deal with, right? But that came from that angle versus from, people coming from Africa. Like you said, what store that you go to now that don't have people who ain't from here? They're owning them. They're in these contracts. They get tax breaks and incentives. And a lot of people are feeling like, well, shoot, this should be some of us. Let them go back so we can get. But are you opening your convenience store up? Do you have the capital to get that space?
No, 'cause
No.
we ain't.
You sold it to them.
And do you have the work ethic?
Yeah, you sold it to them. A lot of even my white counterparts, you sold those stores to them.
Well, and a lot of those store loans for those stores aren't given to black people.
That's
They
the
That's
aren't.
my
part.
point.
And
Yeah.
that's
Who has the capital?
and I feel like that was another leading factor to why the Hispanic or Latino population voted for Trump, because of the economic piece. That's where their money coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm gonna vote for the person who is bringing the income. The income.
What in what way are you meaning?
As far as the contracts, they're able to come here. They pull their resources together. They buy real estate, their property. They live together. They go and get contracts. You know, that helps them provide a living, not just for their family in America, but they send money to Mexico to help their family there and try to get them over here for more work. So I know it's several Hispanic families now that have businesses.
Well, I see that as what's been going on for like the last 70 years. You know, I don't think that that's really wavered that much across parties. I think that Trump being in office has jeopardized that for Latinos more, because it jeopardizes them being removed from America and sent back to a country that some of them ain't even familiar with.
But that angle is not being presented to them. And I think that's the key. What is being presented to them?
So that's the vote. That is the power of the Latino vote. Like all of those different issues right there wrapped up in one. In that conversation, I still hear lack of blackness. So if it's black and white, not of color and white, it's black and white, and then now the Latino population is making a bigger dent in the conversation, and then what's happening? We still ain't talking about us,
And that's
right?
the,
Like we're never talking about
conversation.
what
Because they identify with the European slant. They ain't saying they like us.
Okay.
so
And
Wow,
to me,
well,
They come in, they got their own
pulling-
store.
That's what I say. They're giving them more resources than they're giving us.
Yeah, that's the plan.
But white supremacy got us on the bottom of every totem pole. I mean, we got the model minority myth with the Asian culture. We got the Indian culture seeking to be white lateral, even down to their racism. Then we got the Latino population, who is touted to be a hard working community versus the laziness that white supremacy has told us that we are. So why they gonna
They
give us
believe we
something?
lazy.
They believe we lazy. You know,
Like if
if
it's your home
property,
family of dogs,
family of dogs moved in next door because they gained sentience.
you have a problem.
You have a problem.
And
That's how white community looked at black people at some point. And a lot of
white
older white people didn't look
at us
at us outside of being
beasts,
savages.
all of the things
that we've been told.
So
why would they give us anything? I think that not
giving
giving
us
us stuff is built into society.
Right.
I
I
don't
agree.
think any other group. Yeah.
4 acres and a mule. I
Yeah.
agreed. They didn't want to give us that. So that gives us, to me, that should give us even more motivation to unify, to come up with a plan to push our people forward. They're not giving us nothing. They're giving everybody else nothing. So what are we going to do about it as a people? So what plan are we going to put in place? Every other ethnic group, they have a plan that they're promoting, and from policy, to progress. So how can, like we were saying,
what would be a plan for us?
for the black people, because it seems like they're trying to erase our value and contribution to this country, which we're one of the reasons why America is America.
I want y'all to look up, because it's gaining a lot of steam on TikTok. When you got time, Black Project 2025.
Okay.
Basically, a creator proposed they got a Project 2025. Trump got Project 47.
Right.
What do we
Black
gonna do?
America.
And it's getting a lot of steam, to the point that, like, for every minute that they've been operating, 15 people in that minute have been trying to join the server, and it's overwhelming the server. So it's a group, and they got a whole bunch of professionals coming together to create a plan for the black community, from the black community in America. And so this thing is picking up a lot of steam. I imagine that we're gonna start hearing about it, but it's something that I've started following heavily on TikTok. So
Repeat it again. What's the name?
Black Project 2025.
Okay. Black Project 2025.
Now,
Okay.
can we? Because I'm glad you brought that up, and I shared this with Keisha on the other podcast. That's also one element from 2020 that was missing.
Mm-hmm.
In 2020,
I plan.
we had a plan.
Mhm.
We protested,
Mhm.
and just the threat of us boycotting, right? Because we're the spenders in this economy. The others are conservative. Y'all remember the issue with Starbucks? The threat of it, the issue with the monuments, the flags, all of that was taking place in 2020. So much so that that's the whole reason Kamala got on the ticket in the first place, because of the pressure from the Black community and those in Black leadership. Fast forward, there was no pressure collectively. And so this is why King never went one way. I can, as you say, keep your foot on it, keep applying pressure, because we don't have a particular agenda, because we don't have a particular leader to help push a particular agenda. So we're kind of scattered. Everybody else is concentrated. And collective force is powerful. We don't have that right now. And I think that's something, and I think Kamala did recognize it, because it became a part of her campaign, like midway, where she actually came up with the Black agenda for Black men by listening to Black men and coming up with that plan.
So you want to know what I think?
Shoot.
I think that is amazing. And I think that somebody's making the effort, whoever's behind what Eddie has presented with Black Project 2025. I think that's amazing. But what I also think is that there are going to be other groups of Black people who are going to feel like their project is better, their candidate is better, their stance is better, and it's going to cause more of the same dissension among the race. And we're still going to be able to be defeated in every area.
I think as an ideological shift, I really don't care how many people are thinking about it differently, as long as everybody's thinking about it in some capacity. From my perspective, I mean, there's always going to be, because Blackness is not a monolith. We don't all see things the same way.
But it's whiteness a monolith. It's Latino is a monolith, because apparently there's some unity that they understand that we don't, or we're not. Something different is happening. So I'm just wondering, and you're right about it. I agree with it, but it's something that we ain't. There's something else. Something else.
I don't know. White people got a template that's called white supremacy. That's how I see that piece. And the Latino community, again, a lot of them are seeking to be white lateral. Like a lot of Cubans, a lot of different. When they get over here, and they are illegal. And I'm just don't sound bad how I'm saying it, but like I've met a lot of them that work with my dad, truck driving, and like their vantage point on America is different when they have come over here and they've done everything by the rules to actually become legal citizens. Like that's a different perspective now. But if you believe that you are protected from being harmed by politics, then why would you even change that sentiment? It's just that I believe that you will be harmed by politics, regardless of whether you've done what you were supposed to do, based on how the people who are talking about you are talking about you.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you're in with the show. What's your question, comment, thoughts, or feelings?
This is the caller that your regular computer dropped off. I'm just kidding. But anyway.
Don't do that. Go ahead.
This is by the way, this is Nino Black, the entertainer.
Hey there.
Yes, ma'am. We ran into each other a couple of times while you was out getting a sip or two.
You don't know what I was doing.
I was watching you because I was
Why
DJing.
was you watching me? Man, go with your comment. I was doing my thing.
I got another.
What's up?
I got another question.
Okay.
Because the panel seems to be very insightful, and it's giving me a lot of insight, even more so than what I'm getting from CNN, because I'm really looking for answers.
Come on now.
So my question is this: if you was to fill out an application to work for WATV, and you filled out the application and you were honest and you told them that you were a multi-convicted felon, WATV will have an issue with that and kind of hemming and hawing about whether or not they hire you. I like to think they would. So how is it that this man could be convicted of 34 felonies and still run for the presidency? Can y'all answer that for me?
Awesome question. Call back anytime. So, in my agenda, in the Blackness Report, I do feel as if now at this point, because it seems that that has been totally overlooked, right? Like that does not matter. You got cases pending, and you've already been deemed. You already are a felon, right? But you had to cast a vote for yourself. You can run for the president. Everybody that I serve on a daily basis that has a felony should be able to vote. I don't care where they are, and they should also be able to participate in the electoral process. If they want to run, they can do whatever they want to, just like the president, just like the commander in chief. I feel that privilege should be stretched all across the board.
And also, someone stated on Facebook today, I saw that no one in America who is applying for a job should be required to do a background check.
Now, I ain't gonna say don't do no background check, but I'm gonna say
Just take the felon off of it.
I mean, yeah,
Look,
like,
they didn't do a background check for Trump. Obviously, it doesn't require. They don't require for the presidency.
Nah, it's only three. It's only three qualifications.
Like
The Constitution only has three qualifications for the president.
so we need to amend that. There's some amendments that needs to be made. I appreciate that question. That was something I was thinking about as well because of the population that I serve on a daily basis. People make mistakes and decisions at 17, 16,
and
whatever
are
it may
in jail,
be.
have served time, and how is he exempt?
And you ain't did nothing. So yeah, I really feel like that should definitely be reviewed. And that leads me, Eddie, do you want to speak on that part?
I was gonna say, if you've seen one of those videos where a police officer is very, very hesitant to react to harming a white person, it don't matter what they can be doing. They could be charging at them, they can be trying to take their weapon, all of the things that if a black person did, we've seen over and over, they get shot.
Right.
The lengths that white supremacy will go to keep a white person alive and in power, overlooking all of the other things surrounding that, is astronomical.
It is.
You know, we always had this conversation about a black man or a black woman got to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times better than their white counterparts to get just a little bit of crumb of what they had. Like Barack Obama had one of the most flawless records, and they still went to like, your birth certificate ain't real. Like you don't supposed to be, you know. And so the amount of stuff that they are willing to overlook, and even Christians are willing to overlook a lot of stuff. You know, I guess you could say Catholics didn't have a standard of a leader not being an abuser, if you want to go that far, but they don't have a standard for it now with the president.
Right.
And I'm assuming that it's because they are willing to accept a problematic person who is willing to follow an ideological agenda that they desire to have implemented.
I want to say hello to a few people, and then we're going to get back to what you just said. Sarah Beth Conco, hello to you. Kayla Vaughn. I see Christopher Leslie, and I see you all kind of going back and forth here too. Who else do I see? My mama's in here. I see a couple people. So hello to all of you. Let me know where you are and where you're watching and commenting. I want to see that so that I can incorporate your comments into the conversation. So there's another piece of all of this that I wanted to talk about, and that is the Supreme Court. So a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. I could live to be 196 years old, and I could still be in my seat as a Supreme Court justice. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor is 70, and she has diabetes. And for whatever reason, a lot of people are saying that, hey, this is a lifetime appointment, and maybe we need somebody that is 30 and healthy. And that she should resign so that President Biden will have the ability to appoint somebody else before he's out. What do y'all think about that?
It would not happen like that at all.
They're going to block it again. If you remember, this happened with Obama.
Yes.
Garland was up to be tapped, and the Republicans blocked it at the time, basically making him a lame duck almost. but then the hypocritic nature of the Republican Party, they did the same thing on the way out. So,
Checkers. I don't play games,
yeah,
but
but you
checkers or
got three.
chess. They're
You
making a
got
move.
Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, Roberts, and Sonia.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas said he was resigning. I mean, he was retiring.
That was the theory before, if Trump had won, that he was going to retire.
Okay.
Because they're going to appoint somebody else. It's about to get worse in terms of the court because they got 6-3 now. They can easily get 7-2.
And there is no court higher than the Supreme Court.
That's it.
So if I make it to the Supreme Court and it doesn't make sense, it just will never make sense.
Again, we're going back to the Constitution.
We have to continue to go. Well, didn't Trump say he didn't want a Constitution anymore? He's going to
You
rewrite
think he's
it?
going to suspend it now?
I mean,
I don't think he's going to suspend it.
I don't see what he won't
But
do.
he definitely can make an amendment to keep himself there. And Congress can propose it. They have both. Yeah, we got to get back to it. I want to go back to the convict.
And we're coming to the phone lines as well. We're coming.
So who could vote is a state issue. State controls elections.
Okay.
Trump lives in Florida. He was convicted in New York. Both states have, long as you're not in prison, you're still able to vote. Therefore, the Constitution only has three requirements. You got to be 35, you got to be a natural born citizen, and you got to live in the United States 14 years.
That's all.
That's it. So we, by custom and tradition, society places other qualities and characteristics and qualifiers on the president. But the Constitution says 3.
Good character. So as people have evolved and and mindsets have evolved and skill sets have evolved, the Constitution hasn't.
Correct.
And so all the stuff y'all want, I don't need that. I don't have to have any of that. Go to school for what? Have common sense. And that what the Democrats have is not common sense. All right, caller, we're coming to you. You're in with the show. What's up?
Hello, how you doing?
All is well. How are you today?
Yeah, well, you know that man was trying to get at you. Giving that man a hard time.
Because this is not the setting.
He's just shooting his shot.
Hey.
Yeah. Excuse me, man.
It's okay. All right. How you doing?
No. I mean, I'm doing all right.
What you got this week?
I'm not petty. I'm not gonna say I told you so. That's not me.
I mean, you just did. It's okay. It's okay. Look,
Yeah,
I ain't gonna
did,
treat you like the folk on the other show. We love you over here.
Oh, man, what you talking about? Hey, I love you too. But but I will tell you this. So one of the things y'all are forgetting, first of all, white women, and I said this on the other show, white women are going to make a decision because their husband's going to tell them who to vote for, and they did what their husband told them to. We can't fault white men for running their houses, okay? That's what men are supposed to do, run their house.
Okay.
But what I am going to say is the piece about immigrants being deported, they have an alternative plan already. And that is prisoners. Because according to the Constitution, you become a slave again when you become a prisoner.
Damn.
So they can make you work in the fields, which I have seen.
Yeah.
So now I bring that up for a reason. So we have a choice, right? And you talk about the project, the Black Project 2025. Okay, I don't know if you all know Dr. York. Dr. York one time said, Malachi York said, the only way Black people come out of their oppression is that we come out through God. First of all, not realize there was no such thing as Black people, because even in Africa, there's 67 countries, different people.
Right. Okay.
God haven't called Black people; He called His people. So, in order for us to get to that day, on the other side, to that place of rest, we're gonna have to come to rest. That means our thoughts, our ways, we have to submit all those and give them to God. And the center of our life should be God, and that's going to be founded out of His house, which we call the church.
Okay.
So the church has to become the center of our community again, of our lives. School, and my brother know this, school should be ran through church. Because everybody want to talk about Project 2025, which I know a couple of white schools that's doing that now. I know some communities that now have homeschool schools. So we could either sit around and complain and be late like we always are,
Mm-hmm.
or we can adjust and do what God wants us to do.
Okay. He was pretty sensible this week. Okay, now. Thank you for always listening and calling in. And I do agree with that. The schools, the churches, the homes should be the center of education. This is where these conversations start, right? That's where the responsibility lies. Period.
The problem is, and I can agree to disagree with him on this. We've had this discussion plenty of times. The problem is everybody in America is not a Christian.
Okay.
Everybody that wrote the Constitution wasn't Christian.
Mhm.
So you've always had diversity, especially the very first thing that they amended was freedom of religion, the establishment, right? So when we say the church should run the country, that's literally where we're kind of going, right? You got to take into consideration, and I'll use Dr. Smith, E. Dewey Smith on this. The
Mhm.
Constitution governs the country. The Bible governs the Christian. So if you
Mhm.
take that train of thought, every time Christians get in an area, they're supposed to be salt to it, right? And be light to it, right? And infect it and infuse it with itself, right?
Okay.
The problem is even the church is diminishing in a lot of spaces, right? And
Mhm.
so a lot of the anger you see are from the what I call the alt-right, the far right wing, which attached Christianity to the Republican Party to make it something new when they had started to lose elections. And that starts with Reagan, right? Think about it, y'all. Every issue that the Democratic Party was fighting against and for was really a church issue. Abortion, transgender rights. And so as a Christian, why would you vote with them? If that's his argument, right?
I mean,
why
yeah,
would
if
you
you,
vote
if you
with
stand that
them?
firm in believing something,
Right. So that's kind of, the argument you have on both sides. Like, I'm a Christian. Why would I vote with them
yeah.
if they are doing this?
I'm gonna say this: folk don't believe nothing that hard, and that's where I'm standing on it. Y'all don't believe in nothing that hard at all. Y'all don't believe like that. So stop
Well,
using it when times get hard.
I would need
don't believe.
him to explain to me what's the difference between the God that these Christian evangelicals is saying that they're running the country by and
Okay.
the one he talking about, because they already doing that from that vantage point, from the white supremacy Christian evangelical vantage point. They already got plans for eliminating the education department in Oklahoma. One of the senators is talking about a Bible being put in the schools and being taught from the Bible. And so it's like, how are we then discerning this religion that has 3,000 plus different sects of how God running in any particular one of those being the one in a country where people, even Christians don't align, let alone there being other religions like Hat was talking about. So I think it has to be more than just God. I think anything that Black people do has to be God led, but has to be practical as well, because what they're saying they doing is what God is asking them to do at every turn. And the Republican Party for a long time has curtailed to what the evangelical Christian will get them in their votes in many different ways.
Because that's their majority.
And that's why that's why the people that detach from politics detach, because they don't know what the hell going on. I don't know if I'm supposed to listen to church. I don't know if I'm supposed to listen to my teacher. I don't know if I'm supposed to listen to their radio show. I'm just not gonna do none of it because it's confusing to me. That's what people be saying.
Yeah, and a lot of people has taken that perspective.
Yeah, y'all crazy, and that's too much. Y'all sound like y'all stressed. That's what they say. Yeah, I'll be getting upset. I ain't got time to get upset about that. I'm trying to get it. Okay. Carla, you're in with the show. What are your thoughts, feelings, questions, comments?
Thank you so much, Lady Wu, for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with Eddie and Jay Hatt about the church not needing to lead in that way. I'm a Christian, and I do not believe at all that a group of white men should have a say about a woman's body when it concerns her reproductive health or having an abortion. They have no place in that. It's not their business, and they shouldn't be in it. You're talking about a system that really should not exist, that the evangelicals have put in place. That's what's going on. That's what Project 2025 is all about. Them having control over our lives in ways that they should not have. I think a person should be able to love whomever they want to love. That's how I see that. I don't think evangelicals should have a say about that the way they have had for years and years, and it still exists. They have no business in that, just like they had no business in interracial marriages. They had no business in that. It shouldn't have been against the law if a Black person wanted to marry a white person. That shouldn't have been against the law.
Yeah.
And the list just goes on and on about what they have made law. And there are things that hurt people and that they should not be in it. They shouldn't be in our lives the way they are. We are going to hurt, especially Black people, for generations to come with that vile narcissist man being in office. We're going to hurt, and it is not going to be good.
All right. It is not going to be good.
It's not going to be good.
Thank you for that call. Thank you for your comment. So y'all, that's just kind of like fair warning. I think that's kind of that was the energy that everybody felt Tuesday night. Like, this is not going to be good, but we got to make the best of it. We got to keep going, right? Because that's what we do. It's the resilience factor. I see you responding to a comment over there. I'm going to share this one right here. Why have church and school and hell at home? Why have church and school and hell at home? If it was that important, particularly in our culture, COVID would have produced many churches and schools. Okay. What you got over the head?
Some did.
Some truly did. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of the virtual schools now use the model that was created by some of the churches who allowed teachers to set up shop inside of their church and create homeschool and virtual schools.
Yeah.
Right.
And it goes back to capital. I'll use Brother Umar, right? Whether you believe he is the one to do it or not, but when you get real close to those type of endeavors, you find issues and problems.
Yeah.
Even locally, we had a church to get a school, right? Having that capital is a whole different issue. So getting the school is one thing. Maintaining the school, when you talk about how schools are funded, becomes a problem.
And then you have the same people that feel passionately about the power of education and what's being taught, still repping for public schools being like the main choice. And it's like, no, so now the conversation it somewhat becomes void, because now you can't teach. Our children end up missing those important lessons that they could be learning if we were running our schools and not depending on the public school system to do it. Not to say that the public school system does not deserve all that it can get, but if it can't be all that it can be, hey, what's the next option? What's the next step?
And that was the evolution of charter schools.
Yeah, but then they hated charter schools. I'm like, I'm not participating in anything against any of them, because if this one ain't working and the charter one is, that's what it's going to be.
And that is why a lot of families are moving towards homeschool, virtual school, and charter school, because they're looking for something different, another type of educational offering than what the public school system is giving our kids. And let's just be honest, a lot of public school systems are failing.
Look,
especially in the state of Alabama.
If we got to have a conversation about CRT and not teaching, and my child not learning about history and understanding why there's the why things are how they are, or what she can do and she can't, like who she can be if she's not having those lessons. And I can get those lessons, or I can teach those lessons at home or in a setting where I can have certified teachers to come in and teach whatever. I think I would go for that. If I weren't me, if my family weren't my family, where we impose those things on young ones, like you have to know this, you need to know this, you need to be exposed to this. I would need that. I would need to know that I had another resource to be able to equip my child with something more than what the school system teaches.
Yeah, they're
If
definitely
y'all-
moving the charters though.
Listen, if y'all dive deep into what was going on with Betsy DeVos during the Trump administration earlier and what was going on in her home state of Michigan with charter schools, what they found was a whole bunch of business owners using these one-size-fits-all templates to create these school systems in which it extracted money out of the public system to give to a business owner. It's one of the same things you see going on here with that Choice Act that was just passed in October, where Ivy is giving $7,000 for families that already got their kids in private and or charter and or Christian schools. It ends up being a side hustle for the people that create them and a lick for the parents that got them in them. And they have these boards that the parents sit on that are choosing what kind of students to deny. And you know who on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to choosing who participate in those schools. And I'm not saying that charter schools can't be good and they can't be genuinely started by people who have a great mission for it. But like looking at charter schools as a solution instead of assessing what we actually need to be delivering to public schools with that money, it's just going to further diminish this group of people at public schools who are now losing funding when they were already failing and already needed more money in the first place.
So I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because a lot of times in the public school system, it is a mismanagement of money, which is how the charter school and homeschooling and virtual schooling are options now. Because they're saying we're pooling billions of dollars into this district.
Billions and billions.
Yes. And where's the
Trillions and
evidence?
trillions.
Where's the data? We're still failing. These kids still behind on the reading and the math totem pole. Like, and I'm an educator and I'm just going to be transparent. My daughter attends a charter school and I love the family environment. I love the communication aspect. I love where it's their support, there's issues, they're calling the home, they're involving the home. And sometimes that's missing when you have these larger school districts. Okay. It's a disconnect when it comes to, let me know what are you doing to cater to my child's needs. If it's a lack in reading, it's a lack in math, what can we do together, to improve this? That is missing. That's definitely missing. The support from parents to students to teachers in our public school system is not there, which is a reason why it concerns me. Eliminating the U.S. Department of Education, like we putting all the responsibility on the state. Who's going to hold the state accountable?
Ooh.
Who's going to hold the state accountable? So the accountability piece, period. Who's right. And that's the voters' role to hold people in positions accountable. And I don't know if we know how to exercise that part of the right or not. Caller, we're gonna be in your studio. What you got?
I did want to say this because of you all following the conversation. I'm gonna let Jay Lee finish Acts 2, where the church is established and set up. And Ananias. But I'm gonna say this. Parochial schools, which is church-run schools, okay? When you control your education, you also control what you teach.
Yeah.
When you control what you teach, you can resolve social issues, all right? Social behavior issues. We send our children to the very people that we don't like to educate our children. That don't make sense to me. And we're fighting the issue of taking control of our children's education. All right. When you have a parochial school, children can go into school and not just get fed physically, but get fed spiritually. The Bible says, train a child the way it should go, so when they get older, won't depart from it. So now you're able to train children. So when times get hard, they won't rob, steal, or kill. You're not gonna get that in the public education.
Okay, so even with the one familiar parochial school we all know, which has been a long-standing place in the community, it's starting to go down, to decline. funding is still becoming an issue for them because John Carroll is the school I'm speaking on, right?
I'm about to say, y'all keep talking about stuff and not saying what it is.
I
what
sorry,
it is.
I saw your face like, what? Wait,
Right,
hold up, say it
right.
again. So
I thought
John
somebody-
Carroll will be the school, right?
Okay.
It's still there, but it's not what it used to be.
Okay.
Holy Family is
Mhm.
another one that comes up. So you typically get this from the Catholic faith, right? The funding to keep it becomes an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna say this and let Jelly take over.
Mhm.
In Acts 2, right, you see the setting up of the church and what the church was for. And you see a husband and wife couple who the apostles actually you can say help in the assisting of their death. But I'm gonna let him finish on that because what they did was, they considered something their own when the instruction was to bring it to the apostles so that the church, now I'm not talking about the building, all right, I'm talking about the people, all may eat. But I'm gonna allow Jay Lee to talk about that because
Sorry. Okay. What?
He's talking about Acts 2. So Acts 2 verses 42 through 47 is the birth of the church and how they collectively pool resources together
Mm-hmm.
to make it happen. A lot of people kick back against that because that's the model, right? That was the church model. A lot of churches have principles on that foundational model.
Okay.
I subscribe to that model. Here's the problem you have with that model. The government allowed the public entities to handle their own affairs,
Mm-hmm.
right? The church infused into those mixtures because the church is a part of the public. Problem becomes public education is a tax thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the church is not necessarily in the tax equation.
Correct.
So when you talk about how you're going to fund it, right? Yes, the church can pool resources together, but it's hard for us to say that when we have a church on that corner, a church on this corner,
Man,
a church on that corner, and a church on that
And
corner.
ain't nobody going.
And
to
they
none
don't
of
even
them.
fellowship and congregate together
Yeah.
on a any given Sunday. They don't even handle the issues in their own communities. They don't even show up collectively because this pastor over here is feeling away and this pastor's over here. The real issue is, those churches should come together. Those churches should really bind up their resources. And if 1, 2, 3, 4 churches who all are servicing the same little community would come together, they could have that type of economic impact.
And-
That's what you see in Homewood. That's what you see in Hoover. You don't have 30 churches. You have about 5
Yeah.
in the area,
Yeah.
and they make an impact because they have an economic base. We like to, your pastor, my pastor, and all that. I'm not even into that because I got a whole nother discussion for that. But he's right to a degree. But the problem becomes again with tax dollars.
So tax dollars, money, the church. People don't go to church. People don't want to pay taxes. So now what we talking about? And they don't even care how their children get educated. I would want to have free lunch
Yeah, we can
and get a
talk
book
about that
bag.
because even with
That's
the
all I
charter
want.
schools, I was going to share this with her because she mentioned that, and my spiritual sister, her son has been going for quite a while. She loves him.
Okay.
Problem is, there's not enough data on the charter model to say that it's a plus. It's successful for us to invest, right? So yes, some do work, but we also know that some do fail, and some of them have the same problem. Going back to Eddie's point, because business people get greedy and they steal the money and they use the money in the wrong way, and those schools close. So all of them are not quote unquote academically successful. The other problem you have is the academic standards or the accountability factor from an accountability
That's the
from the
part
standards.
that I would be concerned about.
Yeah, so they don't have to follow the same model and modules and accountability models. So they're not gonna get those fail and report card grades because they don't meet certain standards that the state has set out. So you're really taking a huge gamble and risk. Not to say that it's not always what life is not about, but you take a risk when you go to that school.
Okay. So what we do in our homes is imperative.
But if we talk about homes, think about our babies that we're getting in the schools, right? They're coming to us with deficiency.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, and I'm
why I
not
say
going,
home.
and they're not going to church. So,
Right,
so
and
then it eliminates all of what we're talking about. Like if Donald Trump's administration destroys the Department of Education,
Right.
What does that look like? How does that trickle down? So if we're having this conversation for that reason, we can do that. But if we're having a conversation to say that somebody else should take up the slack, the church should. What? We don't even. I don't go to church.
So yeah,
So-
it's some missing piece.
Hey, what you
Definitely.
got?
The way that I work is like I'm in a room with educators. So
Yeah.
when they say charter school, I need to go collect new data, I'm going to go collect new data.
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking to educators.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
Like
well,
what?
no, get me wrong. The data that I have is data that I have that worked for when Trump was in the office back 8 years ago.
Okay.
I need to know what the data looks like now because in reality, okay, well, let's just migrate all the public school to charter school. But that still looks like just putting money in one system to figure out how to make that system functional. Whether you shift one over here, it just creates a class of people that get to have a good school experience and a class of people over here that get to have a real bad experience. Even worse, because now the money is being shifted between these other different systems. And so I get that's the piece with the charter schools for me. The other piece for what the caller was saying was like, I'm a mental health therapist. I just got to have this vantage point. I don't think you get better results by adding God before you remove trauma. From my perspective, I don't think you get better results adding God before removing trauma. So just saying like the idea of just no. If we just have the church, if all of the kids was in the same church school, it wouldn't be no violence in Birmingham. That is not. I do not
because
believe
they're still
that.
about to be in there traumatized
You know what I'm saying?
and
Yeah,
tripping.
because people still got parents who got trauma. They still going through situations where they in a split
I'm
parent
still hungry.
household. They still got uncles who ain't in school, who are violent, who are in gang banging in the streets and learning from them. Like it's a whole bunch of stuff to address in the community. Didn't just say let's sprinkle some God on it and some education on how we are maintaining our kids through that. And now we ain't got to worry about the stuff that the kids going through. It's a whole bunch of trauma that exists through that, and a lot of that trauma has to be addressed through policy.
Somebody just put they still got the weekend. Thank you for the edit. Look, as we're discussing this, I get this news article that says atheist chaplains are forging a new path in a changing world. So there are some people who don't believe in anything. They don't believe in these concepts that we're discussing, and you think about how people as a whole. We speak a lot of times, as Eddie says, from our own vantage point, which is really truly what we can only speak from. We're not open enough to recognize that there are so many people who believe so many different things and have had so many different experiences, and we limit our conversation to that. So I always hope to be able to have a very broad space where everybody can be a part of these conversations. That's why it's called Vital. It's for everybody. Everybody is important. Everybody has a space here to discuss what we may not be privy to. I'm not privy to being a non-believer. I've grown up in church all my life. I understand the importance of it. I went to More Than Conquerors Faith Church first grade because my birthday was late. And for whatever reason, my folks wanted me to be with the class ahead. So I went to that school. But then just the idea that for tutoring programs, you could go to a church back in the day.
Right.
For Vacation Bible School. I ain't had to go to the church to go to the Vacation Bible School.
Right.
And get that church taught in a
Sunday
different way. It
school.
was fun. You get the refreshments. That was great. The little butter cookies. Okay, then you have all the other training that happens in churches just in the community, but we are not there anymore. And we just have to accept that this is not where we are. We are not where we were. So if we're not where we were, what are we going to do different to get us to where we should be?
Interesting.
And I think we keep missing that part of it because we talk like, I think that's one thing that Trump did get right. Make America great again. It ain't never been great as far as I'm concerned. So like, let's make America great. That should be a new hat.
He stole
Let's
that though. But
make
anyway,
America great.
it
LM.
wasn't even original.
What it is? Who said that first?
Reagan.
Oh, it's old.
That's all.
Let's make America great for the first time.
But what he did do, or what he did appear to do, is listen to them.
Okay.
If you look at this map system, the rural people that nobody go visit and nobody listen to and go talk to
Mm-hmm.
on a mass scale, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Rural America is number one in this voter pool, right? They're the ones with limited resources.
Yeah.
Right. They're the ones who don't have cell towers. They're the
Right.
ones
Social
who,
media. They
right?
don't have social media.
Okay.
That's right.
Now, what about the
Right.
people on the other side? Because we got to get to the other side. If you take away that department, who is really the people that suffer? Them same people that voted for him.
Yep.
Because
Correct.
the people who will send their kids to a charter school. The people who can do homeschool will do that. What about everybody else who's dependent on child care resources and JCCEO and all of the people else, right? What about them people? Because that's who's going to be affected.
And that's why
It gets laughter
Are you laughing at me?
because they voted,
Yeah.
and it's gonna affect you.
They're already affected. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you good.
That's why I'm hesitant to say something like that's what Trump did right.
Mm.
If we're measuring right by his ability to
manipulating.
play the flute and
Right.
get them to
Yeah.
go off into
Yeah.
this cave,
The
then he did a real good job with playing
Right.
that flute.
That's why I said you
But
right.
he played the flute to their death, to their
Yeah.
detriment.
Yeah.
If y'all know the original
They drunk
story
the
of the
Kool-Aid.
Pied Piper,
Yeah.
Pied
it
Piper.
wasn't rats. You know, they
Right.
made it in America. They made it rats. In Germany, the Pied Piper played, and all the kids
The
left, and they
children.
never saw them kids
Mhm.
again. So I can't say that that's right because he was really good at being bad.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that was
Yeah.
right. I got to say that like
Mr. Wrong,
I
Mr.
mean,
Right,
he-
Mr. Wrong.
he manipulated them folks real good.
He's a professional manipulator.
Yeah.
Just
He's
think
a
about-
businessman, is what they
That-
say.
Yeah, but
It's how you do good business. I get you to believe in my product. You buy it, I win. We both happy.
And he had practice with his reality show, and now he just went live with America.
Okay, I like the analogy.
That's good.
Kathy, you get the token for tonight.
Yes.
And I think that we should continue to practice so that I can be Oprah. You all can be. We can be the panel. We can be Good Day of Birmingham. Whatever we need
Right,
to do.
and form
Okay.
our own
Just start
coalition.
practicing.
Yeah, and duplicate this system. To
Okay.
educate and empower our people. Flip our state first. We got to come up with a plan. And even if it's different entities, long as we're on the same common ground and have the same mission, it should work.
Okay, I like
Now we
that.
talking.
Yeah.
Now you talking. 'Cause
Now
we
we
got
are
to get to the
talking.
other side.
Exactly.
Okay, so we understand that basically he practiced. Practice makes perfect, so they say, or damn near close. And then being reasonable. So the part of the Constitution that is not a requirement is that you have to be a reasonable, fair, empathetic, educated, tactful, couth person of couth, upstanding, forthcoming, kind. It didn't say Christian.
Mm-mm.
It didn't. But you have to be a good person. And I always ask the question in my groups, can we define good people and bad people? Are there good people and bad people? And boy, I love to hear that conversation every time I ask because there's so many different answers and then we never come to a conclusion. Eddie, are there good people and bad people?
Mm-mm.
Just solid, no, y'all, it ain't.
Just the way I look at good and bad. Well, the way I look at good, because people say, "Oh, I'm a good man."
I'm a good
I don't
person.
think you can. I don't think you should define your existence as good. I think that you, for the rest of your life, gonna have an opportunity to create good moments, and a chain link of all those moments give a person outside of you the opportunity to call you good.
Mhm.
But if you call yourself good and commit to that, then you're going to go down a path of minimizing your bad and not taking accountability for it. I think it's easier to look at good and bad as moments
Okay.
that you can recover from and you can take accountability for. But if you just say, no, I'm a good person, I'm a good man, what do you do when you fail in a moment, when you struggle in a moment?
I like that, but I'm going to answer that and I'm going to come back and answer it at the end. Kathy, do you believe in good people and bad people?
I do, but I also like to reflect on the good book. When you go for your final judgment, do your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds? And I think ultimately that is what we should reflect on. Sowing more good seeds than bad seeds. And depending on the seeds you sow, the majority, that's what determine your character and who you are.
Okay. All
That's
right.
my perspective.
J-Hat, are there good people and bad people?
Biblically, I'm gonna use my bibliotherapeutic approach here.
Exegete.
Let me put it out there. According to Romans chapter 3, none of us are good.
We all fall short.
All right. However, I think Eddie has a point here, and that is you have opportunities, moments to be in an existence. Right? We are human beings. That means you're gonna fail some. You're gonna do some good. Now, let's talk about the other thing. That's the real question. because I think there is a such thing called character.
Mhm.
There is a such thing called reputation. And those things are predicated on good moments, a pattern of them, right? So, yes, we can define a good person based on a pattern of behavior.
Okay.
And that person can even be good until they ain't.
Yeah, they can do bad things.
And
Yeah.
so that's
We
what I
all
speak
fall
to.
short. We all gonna sin in some way. We all got a vice, right?
I think others define whether you're good or bad. And that's what I get in the group all the time. I think it's up to other people. So like what I like to tell
Yes.
them is if I ask you, are you a good person or a bad person? What should your answer be? And I get a lot of mixed answers. What would your answer be? Are you a good person or a bad person, Jay?
I can't answer that.
Really?
No, I think somebody else has to answer that for me. I try to.
Okay.
I strive to. That's
Okay.
the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
you will tell me if I'm good or bad.
I don't know. Can't you a good person, bad person?
And some would say what other people think of you doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, that,
Okay.
that may be true.
See, this is how women lead the world right here because they say stuff like that.
That
Okay,
may
now
be
keep
true.
going, sister. You catching my vote.
Right. So,
Uh-oh.
you know, ultimately, we have to define who we want to be and to become. And with that, it's a series of factors: what we read, what we watch, what are we feeding ourselves, our souls, and that is a reflection of our character, our upbringing, our training. If we was brought up in the church, if we wasn't brought up in the church, it is a difference. It does make a difference, whether we realize or not or want to say so. We see it now.
Okay.
Most of the panel has been brought up in the church, correct? It's a missing
It's a link.
link somewhere.
Some type of foundation, spiritual foundation. Okay.
Exactly. So
Mm.
ultimately, like I said, we all gonna fall short. But if your good deeds outweigh your bad,
You all right with me?
you all right with me. Okay.
Eddie, are you a good person or a bad person?
Gun to my head, I'm at least well intentioned.
I like how you put that, Eddie.
Eddie, you might have my vote. Okay.
Right.
Hey,
Okay.
there is a thing called fruit.
Yes.
And what about it?
You tell the tree by the fruit.
Oh, okay.
Because I'd be allergic to a lot of different fruit. I just
Well,
kind of.
This fruit is examination.
Okay.
So okay,
right,
so if asked, because so what you say, Miss Wu?
right.
I say I'm a good person. Like my
Yeah.
intentions are good. I'm a good person. Especially, and then I do ask, what do you think?
Right.
And then I say, well, what does that matter? Because what my intentions are, what I do, how I serve, how I live, what I think, those are the characteristics that make me good. Now, does that mean that I can't turn up?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna become a bad person. I'm gonna just do what a good person should do in a bad time. You like that, Adam?
From across the street, I don't think they can tell the difference.
I'm a good
Hey,
person.
my boy said
I'm
you
a
was
good-
you was in the spot.
I'm gonna stay in the spot because I'm a real person, and that's the other piece. You gotta be a real person.
Yes,
So
you gotta
why
be versatile,
why
diverse.
is that important in this conversation post election? Because it doesn't take a good person to run to represent all of us. Your top citizen should be reflective of all of the citizens. And so I don't know what kind of people we live amongst.
There's not a perfect person.
But you pick the worst person. Woo! The meter in which you pick the person to represent you speaks to who you are. And I don't need the people. Donald Trump ain't asked if we cared if he was good or not.
Right.
I
He
am who
doesn't
I
care.
am.
Right. He doesn't.
Period.
Just be.
I am who I am. And if we all live by that, I wonder what that would look like. But the mere fact that so many people thought that a person like him versus a person who we think she may be. I don't know Kamala, and I really don't know Donald Trump, but I think we get the most of Donald. I'd be so confused. Eddie, I would love to have a session, but then again, I feel like I would change my profession and do something different because he would have me really. I'd probably become a preacher then.
I don't know what to do.
I'd probably be a minister.
I don't know what to do with people who will accept dishonest authenticity.
Right.
And I don't know what I do with a client who come up in my office with that nonsense.
Turn it upside down. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the what is wrong with I would be so perplexed, so entertained, but then so nervous about the people that you impact on a daily basis. Your children, your grandchildren, how you
Exactly.
treat your wife.
It's your thought process.
What's wrong? But this is who your president is. So let's see how that's gonna shape up. Young people, you have a place with us.
Yes.
VitalYouthCrew@yahoo.com. We're about to start really pushing it. You can send your information, send your name, number, all that, but we'll give you the specifics throughout social media, and your schools will get it also. But if you have young people, VitalYouthCrew@yahoo. Yeah, we went over our time. Good night. Goodbye. Talk to you tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. For the person that asked me about being a part of the show, send me your information. I'm not sure where you're commenting, but whatever inbox you have or whatever direct access you have, just send me who you are, because I don't see anything with Facebook user, but I would love to chat with you about the opportunity. All right. If we were good, there would have been no need for Jesus. Amen. All right. Good night.